Call to order Creve Coeur School District Number 76 Board of Education Committee, the whole meeting on March 4th, 2014. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Here.
Pam Greiner.
Here.
Brenda Cagle.
Here.
Val Reagan.
Here.
Julie Troop.
Here.
Rebecca Kern here. Judy Stewart.
Present. Discussion items are brought to us through our superintendent, Mr. Aldridge, so we're going to turn to you at this time.
Okay. You'll have to forgive me for the packets this time. I had to take care of all this stuff myself today. So you have what you have. And at the regular board meeting, we'll have our nice nifty ones back from Stephanie, so we'll do that. I made some changes to the sign-in sheet for addressing the Board of Education, and the sheet there as well, because there was some issues and discussion regarding the proper policy that was in place or not in place. It seems that there were two policies, and the 2:230 policy had two of them that were, well, a longer one from 2012 and a shorter one from 1995. The 1995 one's the first one, and then the longer one, of course, is in the back. And it was brought out at our regular board meeting that the longer policy may not have been actually approved by the Board of Education. And in Stephanie doing a little bit of research and trying to look for that, there is an indication that this policy was brought to a committee to be, and was discussed, but then there was no indication later that it was ever on a board agenda for approval. All right, but and you know, I'm not making this as an excuse or anything, except that when I talked to Stephanie to see which policies are which and which ones are current and which ones are not, her indicators are that if it says Creve Coeur School District 76 across the top and has the numbers and has a date on it, then that is the current policy. So I didn't go any further, figuring that's our current policy. This one was brought up, the adopted in 1995 policy was brought up as being the current policy, which it is, because there's no indication that the 2012 policy was ever brought to a board vote. Okay?
Second hearing. No second hearing.
Well, it was at a committee, and then it was never brought to the board. So there was no first reading, and there was no vote. So it was left in committee or something like that. So I took the current policy and just made some revisions to the procedures in addressing the board. And the first 6 during the board meeting are pretty much the same as the 4 that are in this current policy. Whoops. So I don't know that there's much of a difference other than, signing the speakers to sign in with their name and address and topic or issue. That's a common practice in most municipalities and government agencies or governmental bodies, public bodies, in having a record of an open meeting and those who are present and speaking before the body. So that's not an uncommon practice. It seems that you have had a board pamphlet that was used in the past that addressed many of these same issues. Doesn't matter if we want to bring that and revise that or anything. I don't have a lot of personal ego wrapped up in this. It's just I wanted something that was going to give us a little bit of a procedure so that people knew what they needed to do when they come to a board meeting, and to give members some
Is this one that
procedure.
was supposedly approved in September of 2012, but not, I guess, the latest press policy on? It's not.
It is not. This is not the correct press policy, because there was some there's some typographical errors, but there's also a couple things in here that were kind of added in. So it's not the exact press policy. So if we're looking to amend and change the policy, then there would be some suggestions. I would make some suggestions as to some changes to this as it is. Most notably, following the Pledge of Allegiance, the President of the Board will recognize members of the audience who wish to speak on action items on the agenda. Well, you really can't limit the public as to talking only on action items, so that would just need to be changed. And
Well, I think that was because in the past, there were 2 places on the agenda. The first one after the Pledge of Allegiance was only
On
to
action
speak on
items.
action items. And if you wish to speak just in general, you had to wait till the bottom. Is that how it went?
Yep.
I
And
think-
then at the very end of the meeting, you had comments from the
General
audience.
comments. But if you wish to speak on action items, that came directly, and then recently there's just one section. So I think that's where that is coming from.
That's where that's
Well, at one point, it was
Yeah.
just action items too. It
right.
went from action items to, at the beginning, to open items at the end, to just action items.
But if we're staying,
Which violates it.
according to this policy, the president may deny such opportunity to a person who has previously addressed the board on the same subject. That means that the person who keeps standing up saying the same thing over and over,
No, it
the
means-
president can deny
I
that.
think it means if there's 10 people that talk about the same subject.
Nope,
No.
that's not what it says. The president may also deny such opportunity. Yeah.
It's
that's-
right here
It's right
in
here,
this
that's our
policy.
current policy.
It really shouldn't be.
That's what
Well-
our
Because it
current
violates
policy
Open Meetings Act, is what it does. So we need to watch that.
is. Well, that's
Even if
what-
it's in here, doesn't mean it's right.
But repetitive, same thing. It's almost like harassment. You got somebody standing up repetitive, same thing over and over and
Because-
over at every meeting.
If they come to every meeting, address the board on a topic because we would not address it, they have a right. They have a right to come to the board until we decide to address it. I mean, say if someone comes on transportation,
But
I'm
if
just
it's-
throwing it out there, just
But
say
if
someone comes.
it has been addressed,
But what if
then
it
they need to
hasn't?
just-
Because like Mrs. Cagle was saying, the last time a person comes here, she's been asked, the person asked for 6 months for it to be addressed, and we never addressed it. So she has suggested even having them right here, put it in the minutes, that way we don't forget, and that we can look back and say, It's been 6 months.
Well, nobody ever signs in and requests anything. I've never seen one of those papers filled out, ever.
We never
used
had
Because
it.
it's new.
It was
It's
just
new.
last week at the last
Yeah, we
meeting.
had it. We
No,
had it
we
for a
had it.
while.
Oh, you
We
did?
had it for a while, nobody
At
ever
meetings
used
over
them.
at Parkview,
Oh,
yeah.
I
Ever.
remember that.
And
That wasn't a board
I
thing
signed
then.
in.
Well, you know,
I couldn't
Val,
speak.
if
Julie
somebody,
was-
Mrs. Reagan,
Sorry, Val, I don't care.
or if somebody comes and they're addressing the same thing over and over again, if it's on here, and then we have a copy of this, you know, it's like, eventually, can't we just address this and move forward?
Exactly, that's what I mean. I think it's a good thing that you said that. That way we don't lose track of things.
I think Mrs. Reagan's right. I think that would be a violation of the Open Meeting Act to limit them to only one time because they may have different comments as things progress. And in 1995, the Open Meetings Act isn't what it is today.
Okay, so then are we saying this 1995 policy needs to be revised?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Okay?
Sounds like you came to a decision.
What is the latest?
So then we
press?
need a latest press policy on it.
Because this was a handmade one.
This is a handmade, 1995 one looks like a handmade one too.
No. Oh, I don't know
But
about that.
the
I'm
new
just saying
press
this
one
new
is
was
altered,
handmade.
let's put it that way.
Right, the new
It's
press
been
was
altered.
altered.
I will have to, I brought you what the district has. I didn't bring you the press policy itself. So, no problem. This can be a policy consideration.
Brings up a question though. If we found out that this one was never board approved, how do we know that there aren't others?
that's why we're wanting them on something better than our books that are updated. We've been talking about that for a long time, so,
Meaning the website.
yeah. The IASB has a program, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Mrs. Cagle and Mrs. Kern were investigating that, the press policies online and looking into that whole thing.
I think, as you guys all know, I think Pam even agrees that having some of this stuff online, chatted about randomly, is something that is definitely needed. We need to have press policies online.
And that's what
We need
he's
to have
saying.
the
What
latest
did you
version.
find out about the press
Well,
policy
I
back
don't
in
have a lot of
December?
information on press policies, but I have more information on board books.
Yes, that's what we're talking
And I
about.
know that the press policies, we are paying, according to Shelley, $725 a year for the press policies. Well, what is that? That's just to give us the press policies. If the fee is, you know, another $1,000 more to have it put online, I think it might help us even with the community of what is actually approved and what's not.
Did they have the
So-
ability of altering it then also in that package? And that's all?
Honestly, I don't have as much information on press policy as I do on the board books, and I don't think we're gonna actually talk about. I
Because
don't have all
we're
our
working on
information.
it to bring you the information.
Okay.
But we are
As you're
working on
doing
that.
that, can you also do a cost analysis of having an employee do it?
Yes, I think
Because
that's,
if you get a sheet feed, a reader, a scanner that reads big stats, you could put it all out there, and we're not changing that many policies now at, a significant rate. I would think a one-time fee, and those scanners are only like $70. So you could put it all out there on the internet, on the web pages, and then just change it.
yeah,
As needed
we were talking
ourselves.
about, that as opposed to, and I actually stopped in the office yesterday and was chatting with Stephanie and Shelley about a little bit about the board books, and then also, how do you get this information from press, and where is it stored, and why isn't it online, and, how much does that cost, and what's all the time involved in that? So we don't have all of
It
that
is
information
online.
yet. So,
Every press
Superintendent
policy
downloads
is
it, right?
online. All you gotta do is log into it.
You need a code to log into it, and you can download it yourself.
And your code is on the back of your magazine department.
for
Did you get
our
that?
press policies.
Yes.
For the press
For
policy.
the press policies that they
This is
suggest.
strong.
And
Well,
then
yeah, for what they
Totally
if they
suggest.
get
It
adjusted
is?
to your
Yeah.
Okay, I
district.
understand correctly then. So you can't get in on press policies, you're saying?
You
with your-
can,
Yeah.
usually the superintendent has the code, it changes a Okay, or the superintendent secretary has the code, okay, and it changes every time a new press release comes out.
You know
And
what?
I know as president and secretary, and I think even as secretary, I got them in the mail. So, and the superintendent did too, so
Mhm.
you've never received them?
That's,
They
something
must
different.
only be
Legislative
coming.
updates.
Pardon?
I
believe
get
that's
legislative
legislative
updates.
The new press policies, the ones that we get as a whole board,
I
those
don't
have
get it
come
in the
to
mail.
my
I get an
address.
email.
So,
Well, I
I've never
think that
got it.
it's, I think that
Well, I
maybe
think
we could
it's-
all be in agreement that this is something that we definitely want to research and find out what is our cost. Is it best to have a scanner? Is it best to pay the fee and actually have, once ours are corrected, you know, that they're published? Or should we put it out on our website also, along with our agenda and our meeting minutes, that here's the press policy information? So we're looking into all that. We're not ready to bring it forward yet.
to address Mrs. Griner's of an employee, though, that's what has been in the past. And I know when I came in 2 years ago, those policy books have never been able to be kept up. And in the past 2 years, they're still not being kept up. But when I received mine the first time, they were outdated. So I'm not sure, but maybe during the.
I'm saying to put them online using an employee. I'm
Yeah.
going with the online, but I'm just saying, rather than paying their outrageous fees through
Is there a
ISG,
cheaper
I think
way?
it would be cheaper to do it in-house.
Because you're gonna have to pay to update them
Sure.
every time you.
You've got to send them back to them to have them published.
Yeah, so we're looking
Ongoing.
into that to see, is it easier to put them in what's called a Dropbox to get that stuff uploaded and then publish it once it's approved? And we're looking into that, so we don't have it all together.
But I think
I
Mrs.
didn't know
Callahan
that.
could probably attest to the fact that it only takes a few minutes to upload something like that.
We're looking at a huge packet.
The first time.
No, every time we get new policies, it's a huge packet.
Okay, you're
bundle
talking
this.
about before we work with them?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Well, it'd be
You're
nice to
gonna
have a
have to pay for
hyperlink that if you're
Yeah.
on section 230, 2:30, whatever, that you know that one's been changed. And you can touch it and it will go to the latest, greatest. That's what I'd like to see. So
I didn't know the board had been thinking about it.
That would be wonderful.
They had attended.
Electronic
actually
everything would
talked
be
about it.
wonderful.
We were at, that was part of what we went to in November at the class in Chicago. We actually went that Sunday morning to that class on board books. And they talked briefly about press policy. And honestly, I haven't done as much study on the press policy, but we're getting to that. We're hoping to have some information for you guys in April.
And there might be, I'm sure there's going to be a whole listing of the benefits of using theirs, so you'll be bringing that to us too. Back to you.
Well, up to that point, then what we'll do is, I will
Use what we've got.
bring out, well, I guess no, I'd rather not put something out in front of the public and then have to make a change again if there's changes to the policy and there's differences that need to be, updated in the procedures for the sign-in sheets and all of that. And this is, like I said, this is something that is, I don't have any ego invested in this. I didn't draw this up whole cloth. This is from other policies. This is from press. This is from, different, is from, what's the board book? Meeting, calling to order, calling to order, yeah. So some of these front paragraphs is information from that. So it isn't anything that I'm totally invested in. So if there's changes in language and things like that, I just assume the board was able to look at it and make it the way you want it, or to say, the heck with it, we don't want it, we don't need it, that's fine. I'm just bringing a best practice that I know that a lot of other school districts do. So I'd rather not put this out and then have to make a bunch of changes. So what I want to do is to find the latest press policy for 2:230 and bring that to the board for consideration in our next round of policies. How's that sound? Okay?
Yes.
All right. All right, next is our school calendar. We submitted our amended calendar and got it back and said that you can see there is that this is your confirmation that your proposed public calendar 2014 has been submitted, and this is the proposed one. We have submitted our amended one as well, and it's been accepted by the State Board of Education. So if you turn the page, or wherever it is, where you see at the bottom there, where you see May and June, okay, where you see May and June, May 2014, June 2014.
You're losing us, I think.
Well, right here.
This is the next page.
Right, the next
It's on
page.
the back.
It's on the back.
There's one,
Yeah,
okay.
it's on the back, sorry, they're front back. You'll
see.
see that on the 29th, it has a TI, that was Teachers Institute, and then the 30th was supposed to be our 5 emergency days, that's the XED. So 30, June 2, June 3, June 4, June 5. Those are our 5 emergency days. The TI was Teachers Institute, that would have been the last day of teacher attendance, and the 28th, where it has an X, would have been the last student attendance day. Well, with our emergency days being used, and us going into our Act of God days, as they're called, what you can do to this calendar right now is the 29th and the 30th, you can just put an X because those will be student attendance days. Monday, June 2nd will be a student attendance day. The 3rd, the 4th, and then TI on June 5th for the Teachers Institute, the last day. Okay. So that shows you where the calendar is going out to take care of our amended calendar because of our days that we've missed. Where do I? Oh, it's a little bit later on. I'm going to go ahead and talk about 8th grade promotion since we're on the calendar as it is. 8th grade promotion, as I believe I mentioned in an update, we are scheduled at East Peoria High School for May 30th, that Friday, for our 8th grade promotion. East Peoria Grade School has the high school gymnasium on Monday, June 2nd. And I believe Robine is having their 8th grade promotion ceremony June 3rd, but I don't think they use the high school.
Probably not.
So it was, it kind of made sense for us to have, to make the last day for, our 8th graders and have their promotion ceremony on that Friday and finish their career at Parkview on a Friday evening. And then the rest of our students would come back on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, receiving report cards on Wednesday, and then teachers would report for their Institute Day on Thursday, June 5th. Okay. That worked out real well with East Peoria High School because they would only need to set up their gym and their auditorium, however it is, one time. They could do it Thursday evening. It's there for Friday. They leave it over the weekend. It's there for Monday for the grade school. And they were very appreciative of us doing that and suggesting those days. So, like to be a good neighbor if possible, when possible. Okay. Which kind of pulls me into our calendar for next year and thinking about it. And there are obviously a lot of different considerations around here that, you know, a lot of other school districts don't have to worry about. Being a grade school district, you have to coordinate with the high school, and that's understandable. But right now, the East Peoria High School is, they have 3 draft proposed calendars right now that they're working with and through their collective bargaining units. And Dr. Engel said that he would probably be taking one or all of them to his Board of Education meeting in March. So by the end of March, we should know what the high school is setting as their calendar. So that brings me to this board to kind of say, you know, what is it that you guys envision for the school calendar? Do you like staying in sync with the high school? Does that make sense for us, or does it matter? Do we go out and do our own thing? Does it, is it an issue? One of the things that we have next year, in 2015, is the Easter break, the spring break. This year it's early. You've taken a break early, and then Easter is later in April. Well, next year it's a little bit different, and Easter comes on, is this right? This is 14, 15? Yes. Okay, Easter comes on April 5th. All right, yes, April 5th. So one of the proposed calendars from East Peoria High School is before, and one is after, covering both sides of the coin, I suppose. And I guess I don't know what it is that you guys would want to look at here. And, you know, does it matter? Do I just, you know, adopt the East Peoria High School calendar and we just move forward? Or, you know, are there things that you guys want to see in the, you know, in a proposed calendar?
I think that would make sense if you've got kids in the grade school here and in the high school, that you do it running together.
I think that's what most parents want, is them to be aligned.
Okay.
I mean, I don't care.
Selfishly, I would say yes, but, because I have kids in both schools, but.
Well, if you're
I
gonna take a
think
trip,
most, yeah.
you know, or go to see family or something, then, you know, that would almost be impossible if you didn't line up.
Or if
with
you
the
got
high
a
school.
first grader out of school and your high schooler could babysit. I mean, that's,
Right.
so
Those are considerations.
I think aligning with East Peoria is appropriate.
Any other comments?
I think you just need to kind of look and see what they do. I mean, I don't know if you want to do a vacation in March and then turn around and have another vacation in Easter.
Well,
I
if
mean, I
it-
would just kind of look and see what they did.
Yeah, well, like ours this time, you have the week in March, you know, 21 through 31, and then you have your 4 days at Easter. You know, that's what happens.
It happens every year when it's late like that.
Right, but it's early this year, that's, I mean,
No, next year, it's early, so then that's what he said.
That's what I'm-
One of the East Peoria is either you have the week before Easter or the week after Easter. So,
So I'm saying, just see what they do first. I mean,
Yeah, I say we just see what they do first and then see if we agree with that calendar and go with it.
right.
I-
mean, you
I
don't have
would
to take
wait.
2 vacations.
Right, because this
Oh.
year, I almost would have rather given up the week in March than gone all the way till June, which is what some schools did.
Yeah.
They
gave
took
up
their,
Easter break.
they gave up their spring break, and I understand a lot of people need that Easter for, you know, they're traveling with their families and stuff, but I
Sure.
honestly would have rather given up the emergency days over that spring break rather than have my kids go through June.
Mm.
And some people, when they put out the calendar, they do put that stipulation in there, depending on how many snow days we will be deducting it from
Right.
the Easter break. So
Mhm.
that parents know up front.
Yep,
Right.
You know,
most
that
definitely.
way, you know, if it's in there, it's like a thing saying, well, we set it out that way.
Right.
So-
What district do you know doing that?
I
thought
believe
Tremont, isn't it?
Tremont did it, yes. And one of the schools, or
I
I
don't know if they did
want to
this year, they
say
did last
Arcola did it, but I know they're farther away. And then I want to say Dunlap did it. Did they not? I think Dunlap did it.
Some schools, and I think, no, I don't think, North Beacon Marquette used some of their days that were holidays.
Mhm.
They decided to, you know, go
Like
to school
their
during that
class.
holiday to make up and
Yeah.
use that as their emergency day as well. So
Do they have to get the approval of
Who's-
the unions then on that?
It's a hard end.
I assume that they would have had to have gotten approval from the unions as to that if they were listed as holidays in the collective bargaining agreement. But, I mean, you put it to a teacher, you know, or support staff, you know, we go June 5th, or we work on Casimir Pulaski Day and, you know, you get out a day early, or a day less in June, what do you want?
Oh, let's see.
You know?
Yeah,
Let's celebrate some ridiculous
it's cold
holiday or.
now, and it's gonna be nice if that.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, and that's how you have to, you know, present it. And so there are some other ways that I've heard of for these emergency days that I would, once we get something a little more solid from the high school, that I believe it's Farmington had proposed in their calendar that their emergency days would be the Fridays in May. All right, so in May, if you did not use your emergency days, you would have had May, well, this is 2015. This year, you would have, if no emergency days were used out at Farmington, you would have had May 2nd, May 9th, May 16th, May 23rd, and May 30th off. Whoops, where'd they go?
Oh, way up there.
Oh.
You have a longer leg than I do. Oh, I can do that. Thank you, Mr. Aldridge.
So they built in having a shortened weeks, 4-day weeks during May. Then, if an emergency day was used,
They went to school that
they went to
Friday.
school on that Friday.
That totally makes sense.
But wouldn't that still put them longer in the year if they're taking 4 Fridays out because you're at 5?
They're still going till June 1st.
Yeah,
They're-
somehow
they're
there has to
worked
be.
it. Yeah, you gotta work in the, you know, all your attendance days, but the way we have ours, we have a lot of different days that are built in here that are, you know, the half days and all that stuff. You can combine a lot of things and get it down to being able to do this without going into June.
I think it's doable because our kids seem like, I'll be honest, well, I don't make the comment because I don't have kids in this district anymore, but my mom says it all the time. These kids don't go to school anymore. Oh my gosh, they're out more than they go.
November,
And,
January, December, January, they don't go hardly at all.
And that's true, it feels like they're out all the
It
time.
does, it feels that way, you know?
Because she has to babysit a
Sure.
6-year-old. So, I mean, she's just like, oh my gosh, they don't go to school anymore. When you were in school, you went to school.
Well,
And
because,
so-
because of Christmas and New Year's, the way it falls, I can't get around having 2 weeks for, in the winter break. I
Right.
can't do it, you know, because of the way the dates are.
No, she's
Yeah.
not talking about Christmas break.
No, I know, but-
She's talking about, you know, the days they get out at 11 o'clock, or the days they, you know, the days they just don't go to school.
Report card,
or-
just come and just pick up your report card and leave.
We can't do that anymore.
You know, I mean, right, but that's what she's probably talking
Yeah.
about.
But
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
talking, literally, you know,
School
like.
improvement days, half
School
days
improvement day,
here,
what the
half
heck
days
is
there.
that? You know, I mean,
Right.
she's talking about those days, and
Yeah.
there seems to be more and more of them.
Well, and I remember we just got Easter break off. We didn't get a break plus Easter
Okay.
break.
Friday and Monday.
You got Friday and Monday. You didn't get a week off in March and then turn around and get
Right.
4 days in Easter. I mean,
Well,
it's
I was
doable.
I was in school when they developed the Casimir Pulaski Day. You know, when that came to, and we were, you know, I remember being a kid saying, woo-hoo, we get another day off school.
right.
You know, and mom's going, really? You know, another day off school? But that was, I mean, you had nothing between Christmas and Easter.
Exactly.
Really?
Well, you have President's Day.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, what I,
We used to get Lincoln and Washington off. Then they combined it.
if I'm hearing you all correctly, basically, let's wait and see what comes out of the
Yes.
high school, and then we can make some adjustments accordingly and fit it into what we want to do here. So, all right. Good, good. I just didn't know if there were strong feelings about an Easter break, you know, that kind of thing. So just wanted to know where we were
Good
at.
Friday,
So.
I would do.
Okay. Next, MAP and ISAC testing. Here are the scores that I dug out and compiled. So you've got nobody to blame but me if this is an unreadable chart, okay? You'll see it's Ames Web here, kindergarten, third, fourth. And then we have MAPS, measures of academic progress, reading, K through 4. And Ames Web, math, and that goes through there, and then MAPS, math as well. All right. So I wasn't able to pull together all of Parkview, only because it was I wasn't liking the way this was coming together, and I was hoping to get a different kind of chart here. But to go through this, letter naming fluency, letter sound fluency, you can see that. Reading curriculum-based measures, so scores are based on words read correctly in 1 minute. You can see that those are what is happening here. In kindergarten, we're talking about letter naming fluency, correct letters read per minute. Target score in the fall, 13, and then in the winter, 38. And we want to have an expected growth of about 25 words, okay? The mean score in kindergarten, you can see, we started out at about 14 in the fall, which was pretty good, right about where we wanted to be with the targets. And then in winter, we're at 33. So we're looking at a growth of about 19 words or letters per minute. So,
Question, what year is this then? Is this current year that you're bringing these?
yes, ma'am, this is
So,
fall.
2013.
Right, this is fall that was done in September, and then winter that was just done in January. And then we will have another one in 1st of May. Is that, Ms. Smallberger, is that when it is?
It'll be done in.
End of
yeah,
April?
Right around there.
Yeah.
Right around the beginning of May.
Okay. So, letter sound fluency, it's correct sounds read per minute. You can see target score in the fall was 2. We had a mean score of 5. The winter was 20 with an expected growth of about 18 words or sounds. And you can see that, the mean score was 23. So there was growth. Okay. So it is, you can go through here and you can see that, with expected growth and with, the gains that the students are making, they're right in line. They're not too far off. Some of them are better, some of them are not where we want them to be. But this tells us and tells the teaching staff where they need to focus. So you look at first grade in the scores, curriculum-based measure, all right? Words read correctly in 1 minute. So in first grade in the fall, target score is 0. You don't expect them to come back and start reading words right away. But in winter, we want to expect about 30 words to be read, okay? Our mean score in the fall was 14. And you can see in the winter, it was 29, right about at the 30. Growth, okay? The growth is not as big as the expected growth up here in the target, but you look at where we started. We started at 14 and ended up just about the same as the target scores, all right? So when you look at and compare the target scores and the mean scores, we're not very far away. But like I said, this gives the teachers that information that they need to start focusing in on what these kids need. All right?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who
Don't
sets
know if
the
I can
target-
answer it.
Who sets the target scores? Because some of these look kind of odd.
Work hard.
I know.
The target scores,
Yeah, who sets them?
that's by the test, right?
Ames Web.
That is Ames Web.
Oh, I just wondered,
Yeah.
because this one's like 55.
I know. That is,
Wow.
I know, that's the test that, and this one is Ames Web and MAP over here. They have their normative scores. So, yeah, it does seem a little high.
Well, our second graders seem to be the lowest group too.
The target
As
score
far as
is
the-
55.
Well,
55, and then the winter target is 80.
they've got growth.
So their growth made is the same.
Yeah.
Their expected growth and their growth is just about the same.
Yeah,
Right.
25 words per
So
minute, 24.
the kids are learning. They are learning.
Right.
So
Growth is the same.
Every child is tested.
every child is tested. Every child, exactly.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, and these mean scores are all the kids in third grade. That's all kids. Okay, that's your special ed kids and everything, right, Patty?
The special ed teachers test their own kids.
Yeah, but
So
they're,
the only kids that aren't tested is a few in Amy's class, and
Right.
that's only because they're.
but those scores are in here.
I was asking.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not doom and gloom. Could it be better? Sure, but it's not doom and gloom. I'm okay. I'm okay with where we're at and where we're going. I think we got a good direction because now, in January, these teachers know where they need to push, and they know what the test, what the target scores are for spring. They know that's where they need to be. The expected growth, they know where it needs to go. So, that's the expectation, is that they're pushing towards that. Is every kid going to meet it? No. Are we going to have kids above and kids below? Yes. That's why we look at a mean score across the entire grade. So, now you look at MAP, the measure of academic progress that we looked at on Saturday. You'll see that they don't have a target score, they call it a normative score. Right? Just means that it's normed by the test. They have, across their whole testing experiences, this is what they've come up with. So in the fall, 42.5 in the reading, and in the winter, 151 is the score that they're looking at, with an expected rate of growth at 8.5 RIT points. Okay? You'll see that we started out a little bit below at 139.9, ended up just a little bit below at 148.7, but if you look at the actual growth, 8.8.
Everything was higher.
What's that?
Every one of them was higher than the expected rate.
Now, what the RTI points, and Patty, you might help me with what it means and everything if I start getting it wrong. But the RTI points that gives us a value of difficulty on each test item. So it measures the student's understanding of the questions in that test. Remember how we said on Saturday, math, if you got a question wrong, it bumped it back down and then started you again if you got it right? Okay? So these RTI points talk about the difficulty of each test item. So when we look at 10.9 RTI points, that's pretty good with the expected growth rate of 10.4 RTI point. The kids are learning, Now, they started at 155, but they came to 166.6. So 10.9 at RTI, that difficulty in the test items is moving along with those kids, and they're keeping pace with the test, which is pretty good. Really is pretty good. It measures that student's understanding of what's going on in those testing situations. So it's some good news. Am I going to say that this correlates exactly with the ISAT? No, I'm not.
Okay, I have another question about the RTI points.
Mhm.
Okay, so the RTI points, like say for instance, this is 8.5 from fall to winter, and then it would have another grade from probably winter to spring.
Right.
So then they would combine them, the two, so maybe it would say like 12. So 12 RTI points is about a growth in a year, what the child should have. Is that what that means?
Well, it is so that we can track these kids across grade levels as well, okay? So the expected growth rate in the RTI, the difficulty, that student should be in that 8.8, let's just use that, should be in that 8.8, and then maybe a 12, like you said, with the growth, okay? And we should see that student stay the same as a 12 all the way through their career as having understanding at that rate.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Okay, so if we start seeing that their understanding is slipping in these RTI, our IT points, then we know something's going on. They didn't learn something, and their understanding is kind of faltered on those items.
And this is kept in for each child?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this
Yes.
test, say,
$8,000, no, $16,000 worth of computer system equipment, or not equipment, but software here.
say this one for reading, say it's 142 average kindergarten coming in.
Right.
And then I'm just dropping down here to say fourth grade 199. It's the same test, but this is just the growth on that test, what they should have.
Yes.
I get it, thank you. I've always asked that, no one knew.
Yes,
So
it
thank you.
is, even though
It's like, I don't know.
it goes across there, so that we're seeing that these kids are growing, and even though it's a 142 and a 192, it is that, it's that RTI point that shows that kid's being measured and their understanding and those values are going with that kid across from kindergarten to 8th grade that we track them.
Okay, thank you.
And it can go through high school. And
It
that's
does
why
go through
when I
high
moved
school.
from Colorado, I brought my maps, all my kids' map stuff with me. And I
They
was
were able to
like,
plug them right in, weren't
I
they?
was like, here, and we didn't have it.
Oh.
And then when they got it, I'm like, here, and it didn't happen. So,
Okay.
but, I mean, it didn't matter at that
But
point.
at the high school, or?
No,
It doesn't matter
Sorry.
at that point, but it didn't matter at that point, but it was, I was like, they're supposed to be able to follow them.
Right.
Here's all their
Right.
stuff they've been doing for all their lives.
Yeah. yeah.
So,
Exactly.
but-
And the math,
Okay.
the next two pages.
But that's what makes it cool, because you
Yeah.
can follow them.
This whole good thing.
I get it now.
Okay, good.
Okay.
She'll explain it to me.
I get that.
The RIT. Patty,
It's another-
do you have any that might help?
I guess the good thing about this is that you guys realize that when we get these tests, then we look at the scores and that's where we place these kids. And so if they're at a tier 1, tier 2, you guys know all about the tiers, they move. And so every 2 weeks on just the weekly testing, we move these kids and they move in and out as they need help.
Right, because,
They're very informational.
How? Every 2
Very.
weeks tested with what?
The teachers in the classroom, not back with these.
Not with these, they
Physical.
come with a different one that
Physical.
you have to do on your tiers, but these test scores help us tremendously because it tells whether you need to work with contractions or whether you need to, what you need to work with.
So
So
it's
we're not waiting until we take the maps. We have something else in place.
in place, so
Yeah.
that,
In between stuff.
but this tells us where this kid should be initially placed, and then in winter, okay, we look at them again to see, what is the full expected growth from one point to another. Even though we're making little adjustments here and there during the intervening time, we still want to know how have they done overall across points in time, okay?
Exactly.
So that we
And
can
it's not
move them from
And then
tier to
it
tier.
helps them, like, with whatever they struggled with on their maps. I bet you probably more than half these kids in here can tell you what their map score is in reading and math.
Oh,
Yeah. All three of my kids can tell you
The
what their map
weekly-
scores are.
The weekly
Yeah.
So
twice,
the teachers
twice
are
a month.
given, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
the teachers are given these results for every child. This is not just RTI.
oh,
This is-
they meet.
This is every
Yeah.
child, but this is
Yeah.
how we put those kids in the RTI levels.
Okay. What if they're not getting tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
Everybody's in one.
Everybody's in one,
Every-
So the teachers are given that.
yeah.
We
They
had
place
that
them
discussion
according to
Saturday.
I think they place them according to their MAPS test, what tier they're in. Is that
And
correct?
everybody starts
Everybody's in A
one.
tier.
One is the base,
Okay.
and then tier
And so
2,
those teachers are
we add a little bit more,
are
tier
given
3.
these results.
Okay, so
Of-
tier
of-
1 doesn't
Teachers.
get any extra help, is that correct?
The teachers meet, after these scores are put in,
Okay.
the teachers meet at a grade level, and they go through every score. And where this child needs to be, where this child needs to be, every child is placed according
And
to.
they move the
where
kids
they need to
around.
go.
Now, your question is, does a tier 1 child get any extra help? Presumably, that child doesn't need extra help because they're at or exceeding their expected growth on the testing. So that comes to our further discussion as to, well, what do we do to supplement those kids who need that extra push? And all I can tell you is that the federal government only cares about at-risk students, okay? That's where the federal money goes. That's why we have Title I. There isn't that money for accelerated programs anymore. State Board of Education, through the General Assembly, has taken that away, all right? So if that is an area, it was an area of discussion. If in April we want to look at that further, then that's a time to discuss that.
Because I think as a board, we care about every child.
Well, and I think
That's
especially,
right.
I think especially, because here at LaSalle, it's more of the base, they're younger. But over at Parkview, because I once asked, because Caitlin was just sure, because all the kids in her class seemed kind of naughty. But, so I asked how they were grouped in their classes. Well, they're grouped in their classes, I did not realize this,
Right.
according to their MAP scores. So all the kids in her class just happened to have very high MAP scores.
Each grade level.
And so they're grouped,
So
and
in
so
first
they,
grade, they
so
get 1, 2,
this class,
second
they did not have the same English assignments as this class here because they had higher
Accelerated
math scores, so
students?
they were not reading
So
the
they're
same.
level.
Yes,
They
they're
were
level,
supposed to be.
but they are. Because,
Always been that way.
because my,
Ever since I went to school that way.
because my
it's
one
always
kid
it's
cannot
always
read
been
the
like
same
that.
books as, she doesn't have the same,
No.
she's a level, she's a tier 3.
And some
Because she,
kids don't like.
yes, well, she can't. Her reading level, as hard as we try, she's a tier 3 reader. I've done everything. She just physically, it takes her all year to read one book.
And the test
So,
on,
that's how they do it.
the test on computer for the students, though, when you move them up, that's an oral test every 2 weeks
It's
that you're
Ames
doing
Web.
one-on-one.
It's still Ames Web. We do Ames Web on Fridays.
But on the computer or a
Mhm.
one-on-one with a assistant?
We do it it's on the
You're
computer.
doing it on the computer.
It's a 1-minute timing, but it shows us how many words per minute they've increased from the week before. or
Right.
you wanna see them rise up on the tier. But
Oral
during the RTI time, so you guys know, the kids that are accelerated or in the tier 1 group, they do extra stuff with them. They might do plays, they do other stuff while the other kids that we're working with in smaller groups do some, we're working with them specifically on what they need.
Okay, so tier 2 and tier 3 are taken out of the classroom at the same time?
Some,
During RTI time.
yeah,
RTI.
they move them around.
It's a half an hour a day per grade level, because I mean, if you really think about it, that's a lot of time built in. But, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, we
fun.
talked about adding the layers and moving, within the grade level, moving students going to one other teacher for a level 2 intervention, and this teacher does the level, the tier 1 kids, and, so they move them around, but they're not tracked groups, classes, high, medium, and low. Remember, we
Yeah,
talked
we
about
don't.
that? We don't do that. All the kids are together, but as they need more and more instruction and different,
Do we do that
Supplement.
at Parkview then?
I don't
Well,
know.
they do it at work.
I can't, I just don't know. And I wasn't able to ask,
They're not supposed to
So,
anymore,
Patty?
so, I'm sorry.
Does a kid know if they're in tier 1 or tier 2?
I'm just sorry, I don't know.
No,
I
they
can
just
look,
know they're either
I can
going with
ask,
Miss
but-
Patty or they're going with Miss, no
We take 'em
child
out.
knows what tier they're in.
Okay,
They
but they
just
do
know
know
that
their
they're
math
going in
scores.
certain
Well,
groups.
that's different.
They should.
Actually, they love going with me, Becky, and Crystal, and
No,
Cindy.
right,
because
right.
we give them marshmallows and the other teachers don't.
Okay. Well, let me.
Okay.
And if you go to math, you can see that math, in the little kids, they do 1-minute math test sequences, and as the kids progress and go up in their grade level, it goes up to an 8-minute time test in general math, problem solving, computation, and the like there. So, and you can see that, the expected growth, and in the maps, the RIT scores are pretty good here. We've got some really good growth going on, so I'm pretty happy with the different, not different, with the 2 different data points that we have. It's showing that these kids are growing, so.
Yeah, I mean, their scores are wonderful.
Yeah, well, and let's see what happens next Monday. Let's go.
Oh, they're gonna get on Monday?
And we're gonna get the
Oh,
ISATs.
I'd rather see this than the guys.
I would too.
Yeah, this is very
Makes more sense.
interesting. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, good. With ISAT on next Monday, I am, I hope to be able, well, I don't care, after Monday. If the kids don't do it, I'm still gonna go get a haircut and shave. Because this just didn't do too out of control. Sasquatch-like is what I was told.
No, that was your word.
And,
I just agree with
so
you.
on Monday afternoon, as I said, come to Parkview, their kickoff. It's going to be quite a kickoff over there at LaSalle. Ours here is 2 o'clock, I believe.
I think ours is too.
2 o'clock, and they're doing the kickoff, Rock the ISAT here, Operation ISAT over at Parkview, and starting today all the way through this week, if the Parkview students, if they achieve a 90% completion and submission rate on their homework, the entire school does, they will earn the opportunity to watch Mr. Aldridge get his head shaved again.
I heard you were letting the students do
Yes,
it.
I am.
Oh, okay.
Some students, not all 300 of them, but yes, there will be.
What time is this
Oh, it should
party?
be a drawing.
1:30-ish.
1:30.
1:30-ish. I don't know who. I'm hoping to have one of the local beautician ladies come in and supervise, so I don't get, chunks of hair pulled out or leaf scalp laying on the floor.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe bleeding.
Well, it's not like they
Okay.
got a straight razor. I mean,
Yeah, that's
they're
what I
not
was thinking.
clippers.
All right.
It's shocking as to what pulls those kids.
I have these out of order. SES programs is B, school tutoring is C. Well, they're not really out of order. What I've done is, because there was there was some questions about our positive behavioral interventions system and discipline and the like at the schools. Pulled these up out of our it's called Swiss system. Holly, what does that stand for? Swiss again. Yep. See, that's the way I am. School-wide information system. School-wide information system. So you can see here referrals by grade, referrals to the office, and PBIS is our positive behavioral intervention strategies and system, which is the wings that we do here, the weekly parties, the be responsible, be respectful, be safe, be all of those, and the warrior bucks that they have over at the junior high that students earn when they are found to be, you catch them being good. That's what we try to do. We catch them being good. And in the past, I don't know, the past couple months or so, I go, the first thing in the morning, I start out in the gym with the kids, and I saw a couple of the first graders they were actually reading books while they were sitting on the floor and waiting for school to start.
That's great.
Well, there's more. There's more.
Did you
Did you go give them a?
go give them a Tootsie Roll or something?
Oh, well, okay. I wasn't sure if we were too wrapped up in the discipline or. Oh, okay. All right. So anyway.
Like, okay.
So I had some of the, well, I didn't have them. Mr. Thompson had the wings. So I went and got some wings and wrote them out for these little kids who were sitting there reading their books. And it was great. And they were floored and great. And I did that a couple times. And then I had Miss Smallberger, because she just happened to be standing around that day not doing a stinking thing. I had her make me my own wings, so I didn't have to borrow them from teachers. So I've got my own wings, and I got them in my pocket. And I've spent, as I go in there, when I come in, you can see the kids start to take out their books. Okay, all right. Oh yeah, but not only that, I kind of sneak around and I see who's already doing it. So the ones that just pull it out when they see me, okay, I'm glad you're doing it. They get the pat on the back. And I find the ones that actually had their book out before I even came in. And then I've started to just sit down and get on the floor and read with the kids and have them read to me. And it was, I don't remember which teacher it was, but one of the teachers said, "I'm so glad you picked that child because she's been a struggling reader, but she's really made a lot of progress, and that really made her day." And I didn't know the kid. I didn't know that. I was just, she was reading. I had her read to me. But even more amazing, and if you'll turn the cameras off, even more amazing is that the teachers are now starting to do things. Rather than just standing around talking to each other while they're waiting those 15 minutes for school to start, they're actually interacting with the kids and using that time for extra instruction for those little kids. Okay?
Good.
So it's a positive effect. And so it is something, you catch them being good and it will ripple. And I told the teachers, it's like, you have to take this and you've got to make it bigger because, you know, I'm only seeing these kids for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But you go back to your classroom, ask your kids, did any of you get wings from Mr. Aldrich today? You know, and you promote this up so that they start doing it and they do it on their own. And then they start doing it because they want to, not just because they want to get a wing. All right? And over at Parkview, doing the same thing at breakfast time, sitting with the kids. How are you doing? You know, where are you at? Start interacting with those kids and giving them their warrior bucks as they're interacting. With the junior high kids, it's more that conversation and connection with them to see how they're doing in school rather than sitting there and reading. But it's that connection that they know that somebody cares about their education and them learning something. So it'll start to ripple. That's what the PBIS is. You know, we can talk about the referrals, we can talk about, you know, where they're at and the problem behaviors and referrals by location, referrals by grade. We can talk about all those things. But I'd rather focus on what the positives are because that's where we're supposed to be, is looking at the positives.
So they still get like a reward at the end after they get their wings?
Okay, the wings go into a weekly drawing in each classroom, and then there's prizes and stuff that are there. And with the Warrior Bucks, they use them in a store, right?
Warrior Mart.
Warrior Mart. and there's all kinds of stuff, and the greatest item in Warrior Mart is the nose pencil sharpener, where you stick the pencil up the nose and sharpen it. That's the greatest.
Probably the most popular one.
That's the best one. So, but you can see, you know, and at LaSalle, we have, you know, through January 10th here, we had 170 infractions, office referrals, and that's what this is office referrals. And then over at Parkview, we've had 224 office referrals, and you can see by not too, it doesn't stretch your imagination to understand that 8th grade is getting, you know, most of the referrals. But you'll see that the types of behaviors that we have are not, you know, it's the disruption is the biggest thing. Physical aggression, when it comes across as physical aggression, it's a push, it's a shove. It's not brawls and fists fights by any means. Defiance is usually with the teachers. That goes with non-compliance and insubordination. And you can see that most of the time that's, well, the classroom is the biggest area, but also in gym. So it kind of tells you where things are happening and just gives you some information about what type of things we're seeing in our schools, which really aren't, you know, too bad. So, okay. Any questions with all that? I'm sorry I took up all that time with my reading story.
Very nice report. First time I've seen one in that format.
Yeah, I think you
It is
did a good
good.
job.
Thank you. And honestly, Board of Education ladies, this whole packet is 3 months worth of information. You know, December, January, and February that we didn't have our committee meetings. You know, that's where all of this is coming from. So, you know, don't think I just ran out and was like, oh my God, they said they wanted this, this, and this on Saturday. No, it was already all there. Okay.
I kind of thought you did.
Oh.
I was too.
Just let it go.
Oh, wow.
Some of it,
You
but not.
generate a report like this
He should
overnight.
have been like, I haven't
Some.
slept since.
Yeah, no. No, I'll be truthful. Some of it is, but you know, a lot of the stuff is things that I already had. But all right, moving on. School tutoring programs and the SES programs. We have our own tutoring programs, as you know, here at LaSalle and at Parkview. So we have our own teachers that are doing tutoring on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays here.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. I thought it was Thursday, so, okay.
No, it's all this Tuesday and Thursday.
And then the public
Public
health, yes. The Department of Public Health, Tazewell Department of Public Health has tutoring. They do they pay the grant, right? Isn't that it? It's still our teachers, right? Holly? Please, okay. No, sorry. Yeah, they do help offset some of that cost with our tutoring. Some of the tutoring here at LaSalle comes out of our Title I grant, which is perfectly acceptable. The SES programs, that's our supplemental educational services programs that we've had to put into place. And all I did is to give you a couple pages of the Sylvan tutoring program, only because that's where all but 6 out of our 38 students are attending the Sylvan. So, and they attend here. And 3 out of the 4 people who are the tutors through Sylvan here at LaSalle, 3 of them are our own teachers. So they're here and working with our own kids. So it is a good program. These kids are we are doing everything we can to cram these little heads full of information and make them learn. So hopefully we'll get some good results here. But you can see their instructional model, which is what it is. 34-hour program in reading or math, small groups, no more than 8 to 1 in instructions. That's why they have 4 groups here. And I think it's actually 7 to 1. Here, and then they do their pre-assessments and they do post-assessments. So they're going to, Sylvan's going to be able to give us a report at the end of those 34 hours. Here's where the kid started, here's where the kid finished, and this is how how we did, with this child. Those are mandated by the Illinois State Board of Education, and then they are required to provide us with those reports as well. So when we get them, you'll see them. Okay. And then ACET, some tutoring, fast facts, some of the things that they do within their program. Unfortunately, I don't have as much contact with the other 2 tutoring service providers because those are the internet ones and the iPad and the Above and Beyond, and they're web-based and all of that. So the parents are the ones that do that do everything, all the contact, and essentially all we do is pay the bill. So it's unfortunate. They do have to give us reports, but I just don't have as much contact as I do with the Sylvan director. She's been very good working with us. Carla Janicki, she's from, their office is in Peoria, and they work quite a few schools in 150 and other
It's on
districts
the
as well.
page, Brent. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, all right. Hey, we talked about the 8th grade promotion ceremony, so I'm just going to slide right over that one and go to class size projections. And that's kind of a misnomer. It's not really class size projection. This is our enrollment. Trying to get a handle on what our projected enrollment might be next year and what our past 5 years have looked like, because ever since I got here, it was, oh, our enrollment's down. Oh, we don't have any kids. Oh my gosh, we're losing. Okay, so 2009, you had 698. Okay? 2010, you had 669. You lost 31 kids. 2011, you got 666. I'll pass on that. You missed 3 kids. You lost 3 kids. 2012, you got 668. You lost 2 kids. Wait a minute. You gained 2 kids.
Yeah.
Sorry, you gained 2 kids. That's a plus. Outstanding. Then you go, and we're in 2013, and you had 642. So you minus 24 kids.
No, because he had +2 and he had -2 instead of +2.
Yeah, I had a negative 2 instead of plus.
So,
668, 642
Right.
is 26.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
We did the math.
Yeah, the math's still
Yeah,
right.
okay.
It's still minus 26, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Minus 26, oh my gosh.
All right.
Yeah, okay. So minus 26, and then we go to this year, 2014 school year, and we're at 665, which is an increase of 23 students. Your net loss over these 5 years has been 49 students. 4.8% decline, or less than 1% a year over the past 5 years. I don't think that there's any need. I mean, some superintendents go back and they take it back 20 years, 30 years, you know, and statistically,
No.
5 to 7
Yeah,
years
we've
is all
lost
you
a
need.
lot of students over 20 years. We had like 3 schools.
Yeah,
There
so,
was 1,000 kids when I got it.
Yeah, there was over 1,000 in one.
So for
almost
me to
1,000.
look back.
There was over 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
it
over
looks like
1,000, I
there's,
remember.
you know.
Because you
When I
had,
went to
Very big
school here,
increase.
there were 5 schools.
right, that's what I mean, you had, well, and then there was 3 schools, Homewood Heights was full, the school was full.
okay, but in the last 5
So
years,
you
you've only
can't do
lost
anything about
1% a
that.
year.
Right, yeah, you can't, but we're saying it's smart not to go
Right.
back that far because, I mean, the culture has changed, Caterpillar's gone.
Right.
It's the age we've lost.
Hey, you got that right, you know?
Can you
But-
tell me what this down here is talking about? I don't quite understand on each page. Homeschool, serving school. What is that? Anything we need to be concerned over?
Oh, okay, so if you look down at the bottom of the page, it says FTE 1.0, all right? Full-time equivalent 1.0, that means a student, that's one student. We have one student, 1.0, not a half-time, not a three-quarter time. So that's 665. Now, they break it down even farther, and you can see there's 302 at Parkview Junior High School. That would be their home school. There are 302 students in Creve Coeur school boundaries that Parkview Junior High is their home school, all right?
We have a different number.
No,
302?
We're on the
I'm
last.
on the,
Okay.
I'm on the last page, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm
we have a
sorry.
different
Took me a
number.
moment to get there.
Okay.
Sorry about that, yep, I'm on the last one.
Fine.
2014, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there's 302 at Parkview. LaSalle Elementary, you have 363, and that's their home school. All right?
Yeah.
Now, serving schools. You see that we have Children's Home Association of Illinois, Charles Lindbergh Middle School,
Yeah.
Parkview Junior High, LaSalle Elementary, and then Schwab Education Center. Okay? So, we have one child who goes to the Children's Home Association of Illinois.
Right.
All right, so that is the serving school for that child. So we have to back that child out of that number.
Okay.
All right, so you'll see Parkview now as a serving school. It's only serving 300 students because we have one child going to the Children's Home Association and we have one child going to Charles Lindbergh Middle School. Okay, so that's where those two, and we take that out. All right, next one, under LaSalle Elementary School, it's now 362 because we have one student who's at Schwab Educational Center. So that's showing that the serving school, the number of students at LaSalle is 362, and we have one student who's assigned or being served at Schwab Education Center.
Thank you.
Good. And there's these reports, this fall enrollment counts and everything, it goes, you can see at the top, there's race and home and gender and Title I and reading. You know, there are all kinds of statistics, but none of that really matters when it starts getting down to what do we need to do to make decisions for the Board of Education. It's, are we losing students? Is our enrollment declining? Our enrollment is pretty
And this
pretty
is
stable.
since this date? Because I know we've had lots
Yeah.
of enrollment in January and February.
Right, enrolled as of, this is how the state keeps track of its fall enrollment.
So
It's
our
called fall
numbers-
housing reports.
Our number is much higher than this then.
It very well could be, but I cannot, because attendance fluctuates so much,
Yeah.
the State Board of Education takes a one snapshot,
Oh,
okay? And it says, as of 9/30/2013, what is your enrollment?
okay.
And that's what they look at for our general state aid, for any other kind of housing type reports. Now, over these, that doesn't mean this plus 23, those 665 kids might not be the same 665 kids that started, okay? We've had them in and out and in and out, all right? But the state doesn't look at that, it looks at 665. Which is
Each year.
Each year. And then, to figure out our general state aid, how much money we get, we do what's called our best 3-month average attendance. So we get to pick our best 3 months average attendance out of the year, or up to whenever the cutoff date is. We pick those out, and that's what we have to send to the state to say our daily average attendance is this, and these are the best 3 months attendance that we have average, and that's how we get our money. So that's why these numbers are pretty important. You want high enrollment, but more than that, you want attendance. The attendance is the bigger thing. You know, you're only going to get so many kids, but of those 665, we want 663 of them in their seat. Because if they're not, then our attendance goes down, and that's what we're paid from. It's our attendance. So, all right.
I have a quick question,
Mhm.
real quick. The IEP, we go from 2009, it was 170, to this year, down to 65.
Hold on.
Is it counted different?
Hold on. Okay, 2009 IEP.
Yeah, I just went under IEP.
Okay. Okay, I got a hole punched in mine. What number is?
Well, it says 170.
Yeah, 170, okay. And then we come over here, and we're down to 65. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I mean, that is.
It is.
And each year, it looks like it's been going down.
It has.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
Is that due to the RTI?
That is partially due to RTI, partially, but also, when Mr. Gamble was here, okay, it was expressed to him, and he had an expectation to pull in the numbers, to tighten this up, that we were referring too many students to special education that we should be servicing in Tier 3 interventions. So they beefed up the RTI, the MTSS, the multi-tiered student system. Patty?
I still call it art.
RTI, MTSS. What they did is they put together, Jason put together a formalized program for the teachers to follow, which told them, okay, if you see this in the student, you know, with these MAP scores, here's what you need to do, and here's the levels, and here's how we're going to go about it, and here's the next steps that you take, and those kind of things. So he formalized it rather than the teacher walking from their classroom down to his office and saying, I don't want this kid in my room anymore. Okay? Which is the way it used to be when you got 170 kids. Okay? Well, he put the brakes on that. Okay? He was told to, you know, and he told me this before he left. And that expectation was carried over when I hired Ms. Mueller. We don't need that many kids. We want to stay at or below the national average for IEP students. Right now, the national average is 12.7 something. Okay, so just under 13%. All right, I like staying around 10, 11% of our student population. That's about right in my experience, in my educational background. About 10 to 11% is pretty good. And so, if you look at 2014, we have an FTE of 665 students, and we have 65 IEPs. We're right at 10%. So, we're trying to hold that in.
It's 17, 18% in the past, so that's very good.
Yeah.
As long as we're helping all these children.
Uh-huh.
That's,
And
that's the
according to their
important
math
thing.
scores, they're being.
They're growing,
Yeah.
so it looks like.
Right.
That's very encouraging from what I thought it was,
Okay.
truthfully.
And that has, from 2009, from that 170, you know, and then we didn't get RTI and all of those programs in till about 2010, 11's when that all started. So a lot of that has to do with RTI and the levels, but it was also a conscious decision of the school district and special education to say, well, wait a minute, we're going to put some procedures in place so that it's just not so informal. You just don't come down here and ask for a kid to be placed in special ed, or you don't tell the parent. Well, they won't test your student, but if I ask, but if you go and ask, and you tell them you want a special education referral and testing, then they have to do it. Well, that's what teachers are doing.
Well, that is true, though, if a parent requests.
That is the law. That is the law. But
Right.
teachers aren't supposed to be encouraging them to do that.
The state also came down and was demanding, that's why they brought in the RTI, if I'm not mistaken, because they felt numbers were too high throughout the state. Of course, they have to pay more for an IEP student. So, knowing our state behind in their finances, they began to seek ways to lower numbers.
Yep.
Would we need fewer special ed staff members?
Well, divided by the,
Divided by 60. Right, not the time or place, but.
Probably not the time or
Cut it less
place,
than half,
but
Well, that's what I'm seeing, 170 down to 65.
that's
Okay.
great, I mean, that's.
But
It
they go
is.
into tier 3.
all right, they're in low, they're still have to have those services somewhere. Somebody's got to give them those extra services, but that's not necessarily where that comes in. That's where, you know, Patty and Crystal and all of them and Lydia, they do a lot of that kind of stuff. The problem is that when the law started to change, they also put into place, you can only have so many special education students in a classroom with a teacher. And then you could add so many more students if you had an assistant. So there's restrictions on how many students we can have with one teacher. And
the grade levels have to be no more than, what was it, used to be 4 years, I think.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
between the top and bottom, but you're still 8 students per classroom if you just kind of take your 65 divided by 8 grades.
And just because you have an IEP doesn't mean you're in a special ed classroom.
That's true too. And because we have,
It can't just be glasses.
Right. Or a hearing problem.
okay, but those aren't special ed kids if they're,
Right,
She said IEP.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
just because you have an IEP doesn't mean you're in a special ed
Right.
classroom.
well, right.
Right.
You're getting special
So
ed
those-
services,
yes.
though. You are getting services.
You
Not
get some
necessarily.
service.
They may not be in the special ed classroom, so just
Full-time
because there are
accommodations
less
within the
Right,
IEPs
accommodations
doesn't
Do we only
mean.
have 65 children?
with accommodations.
As of that day,
That's good.
yes.
Good, I mean, I think that's great.
It's higher than that now, I will tell you, because we've had move-ins who have had IEPs from other districts. So it's higher, but not because we've added, not from our own internal population, which is what I really look at. We can't help it if a kid moves in with an IEP, you know, we can't help that. We gotta serve it, and it's one of our kids. But it wasn't one of my 665 to begin with. So it's a little higher. And we're getting away from having total special education classrooms and moving them into the regular education classrooms so that we have what used to be called inclusion. We now have co-teaching, team teaching, we have collaboration, we have teachers working with teachers together to service all the kids and to be able to, you know, serve the needs, you know. That special education kid, as long as he's up and moving and he's got his assignment and he's moving along, that special education teacher is able to help the other lower struggling students as well. You know, we utilize the staff as best we can, but Are there, when we get to staffing, are there things that we can look at? Yes, there are. All right, cool.
To facilities.
Facilities.
Can I
Yes, ma'am.
request a break?
Thank you.
Your call.
I mean,
5-minute break.
an hour and a half.
We'll get to that.
All right, let's continue.
I messed with it, it
Beyond.
slowed down how fast it was running, but it's not stopped. Sorry.
We need to move on to facilities.
Well,
Okay.
that's kind of part of it, because we've got water running in there.
Yes, we do. Facilities are broken up into maintenance grant and health, life, safety work. And so you have in your makeshift packets, you have 3 maps. You have Parkview School floor plan, LaSalle Elementary, and then Homewood. All right? You cannot see the little engineer's notes where it says demolish and repair notes. I will have probably next week the large size maps, okay, if whoever wants to come in and look at them. But I will tell you that what we're looking at here, my handwritten notes, okay, there are things on here that are the maintenance grant work, okay? So if you go past the maps, all right? You go past the maps and you find school maintenance project grants work item listing, 1 of 5. All right? You'll see what the work actually is. Item ID number 1, LaSalle Elementary, 300 North Highland, blah, 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 blah. Description. All right, replace the electrical panels in rooms 126, 27, and 53. Well, if you go back here to LaSalle Elementary, floor plan map, you can locate rooms 126, 27, and 153. If you can read those numbers, you got better eyes than me. So I wrote them out here, and you can see where it says electrical panel replace, and the 3 circles. All right, so it's like 1 up on the stage, 1 over there, and 1 back over here. Those are, they're electrical panels to be replaced, and it says contractor in parentheses out there. That's because none of our maintenance guys are licensed electricians, okay? So that's not a project that we can do in-house, all right? If there were projects and the architect did not like me because of this, because when he came in with his happy hoedown little maps and his demolition and repair notes, I just said, look, there's stuff on there that we can do. There's stuff on here that has to be done by a contractor because I don't have the people to do it. But there are things in here we can do. So let's go to it. If you come back and look at the new big fancy maps he's going to make us, you'll see that there's, on each one of them, there's only 1 item or so on them because I took it all the way down to the electrical and the plumbing. It was the only 2 areas that have to be certified by people with those credentials. All right? Anything else that could be done by contracting or contractors that we're not having to have a license, we're doing ourselves.
So
All right?
if it says electrical on it, doesn't necessarily mean you're saying those things have to be
No.
done. Okay.
No. Because there are electrical things that we can do. What we can't do is replace an electrical panel in rooms 126, 27, and 53. Because that's putting in the new circuit panels, okay? And we've got some here and we've got some at Parkview that we have to do. And so there are those kind of things. But if you look at item on the page 1 there, item number 3, Parkview Junior High School. It says, in room 141, there's no emergency lighting. Provide emergency lighting. That's something we can do. We can put in the emergency lighting system, like up here, the one right out there in the hall.
But it said it was completed already in 2012.
No, it's estimated completion.
Estimated completion
Oh,
dates.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
This was done 2 years ago. Why are we redoing it?
It was supposed to have been done.
Okay, never mind.
I'll let you explain that.
Okay, no, that's fine. I
So,
just.
the maintenance
I
grant-
said start date was June 2012, completion was 10/30/2012, so I'm just like, it's done.
No.
But it's estimated.
Yeah, we had to get an extension because
Right, but
none
I
of the
thought
work
we were
was
gonna do something
done.
else with that money, because I thought these were just old things. Okay, never mind.
Nope, this is we either use it or lose it. That's the
No,
state
that's
matching
fine.
funds.
Right, that's
So-
fine, but I just thought it was
So
finished.
6 items.
So there are items on the maintenance grant projects, work item list, okay? You'll see there's 5 pages of it. There's only 4 pages of work items. The last page is just your total reserve and local funds and everything.
Was any of this completed?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I
Hang
just
on.
wanted-
Let me go through, I've got it in my head, Ms. Reagan.
That's fine.
But I'm going to answer your question. It will. I will answer it because it's an important question. Okay, so all of these items on these 5 sheets, right? Okay, replace electrical panels. If you look beyond those 5 sheets, you'll find the 10-year safety survey report, violation and recommendation scheduling, and you'll see on there where I have marked them as done and not done. Some of the things on the maintenance grant are covered in the 10-year life safety survey. All right. So there are things that were in here that you'll see a lot of this was done, but there's some things that aren't. And some of those things cross over with the maintenance grant. That was done that way, in particular, or particularly, so that you were covering your maintenance grant and your life survey, health life survey. Okay, hold on. So some of it was done, some of this is not done. I've been through this with the architect, okay, and he has done all the cross-checking and cross-referencing, all right, and the school maintenance grant project work items list there, those 5 pages, there are many of them that are completed. Okay? I did not give you my scratched up notes from this to show you what was done and what was not done on the maintenance grant, only because it's hard for me to decipher too, but I know what my notes are, and it'd be really difficult for me to try to go through it. But there are things that are done on here. If you want to go through each and every item, I can.
No, I just want
Okay.
to know if
Yeah.
it's done. And
Yes,
it
a lot of it
looks
is
like there's
done.
a lot of it is, yeah.
A lot of it is done. But what I want you to see, though, and to take into consideration, everyone, is the estimated cost, okay? The estimated cost to replace the electrical panels in rooms 126, I'm just using that because it's the first one. But to replace those was $15,000. All right, well, that $15,000 was the estimated cost in 2010 when you wrote the grant. Okay, so we can expect that some of this is going to be higher than what the estimated costs are, but I'm hoping that with the offset of things that are already done and the things that we will do ourselves, we will come in with lower costs on other items so that the bigger items, we bring it in online, on target, on schedule, on budget,
On the
okay?
work that we have to contract out, or are we going to do bids or estimates, or how are we going to select a contractor to do that?
Okay, good question. How are we gonna, of the things that we have to put out, what are we going to do and how are we gonna get people? Under the public bidding statute and the school code, all of these projects are considered repairs, all right, and renovations. Repairs and renovations has a higher threshold in the contracting number. Most contracts, as you know, $25,000 or more, we have to do public bidding. When it is repairs and renovations, the threshold goes to $50,000. None of our projects are over $50,000, so therefore we can just request for proposals. We do not have to go through the actual formal bidding process. The reason we don't want to do that is because the architect then has to put his fingers in all of that and put all the specifications and the contracting and the bidding, you know. That's a big chunk of his money. That's why he and I didn't see eye to eye when I started scratching stuff off the list for the contractors. And so that's reducing the architect's fees. And we have providers who do these things for us anyway. We have an ongoing relationship with Thompson Electric, who does the electrical work through our alarm systems and things like that. So they would be one that we would go out and say, here, as soon as I get the plans, here are the plans, take it with you, I want a request for proposals for this work. All right, and then we find 3 or 4 others. No more, I'm not gonna go any more than 5 because then it just gets too confusing and, you know, you're not gonna get that much variance. So, you know, 3 or 4 contractors come in, give us proposals on these items, and we get this stuff moving and done.
And the architect will print out all the specs and everything for all the work, so it's all even to all contractors.
Yes. Yeah, that's what the, his big drawings are. It has the contractor specifications on it, so it's right there. We're not gonna get big thick books and, you know, and all of this stuff, and it's just like, no. Larry, the architect, you're gonna streamline this, buddy. So that's what we did. One of the things that I hope everybody is happy about, one of the projects is the demolition and reconstruction of those 2 bathrooms over there. All right, that's where all the plumbing is, that's where our issues are with backing up, you know, the plumbing, sewage backing up, the urinals not flowing correctly, all of the sinks not working. So those bathrooms are going to be, you know, remodeled, reconstructed, and that is on LaSalle Elementary School map. That's the cutout where it says toilet room plan. Okay, and that's the replacement of the bathroom, and we have to have a licensed plumber to do that. You know, there's not much we can do there. But other things, you know, fixing the bricks, you can see on the outside, tuck pointing and masonry on the outside. We can fix the bricks. There's some painting that needs to be done. We have to have certain type of yellow metallic type paint for our gas main lines. And so we got to do that. But it's just painting. I don't need a contractor to come in and just paint. You know, hopefully, you know, we'll be able to do this. The other thing was the fire alarm over at Homewood. The fire alarm at Homewood is not sufficient. So that brings me to a question for the Board of Education. It's not one you're going to be able to answer tonight, but how much money do you want to sink into Homewood Heights. Now, in relation to a long-term plan. And since I don't know if you have a long-term plan, I don't know what you guys have thought about and talked about in the past. So that's a conversation that we need to have, so that I know what to do with this. Because if we're just going to stay the course, there isn't much that I would think about fixing over here, except, you know, the rotten door, you know, and the door that scrapes the floor, and I don't know what I can do about the wall. It's going to have the big cracks in it. So, you know, those are the things that we need to think about, you know, down the road. But as far as our life safety and our maintenance grant, the fire alarm is the only thing that's a big ticket item over there, because it is an electrical issue. All right. So I will get the requests for proposals, and I will get, you know, proposals for the work, and then we can decide whether or not we want to move forward with it or not, or do part of it or not do any of it, or, you know, move forward like that, okay? But it's something that I think you've probably already had the conversations before. So, you know, you just need to let me know what, as a Board of Education, you're thinking about for that building.
Before we go on to finance, can we get a consensus how long people want to stay tonight? So we'll cut it off. We still have finance and
Personnel.
So if there's a time, and then we'll bring it back to another meeting, what didn't get covered, if that's what you feel. Another hour? Everybody all right with one more hour, or
Till it's done.
you want it till it's done? How about everybody else?
I think we should be able to be done by 9, I would hope.
Okay.
Since we haven't had a meeting in 3 months, I'd say finish it up. But
Committee meeting.
All right, so we'll watch the time, but.
But all of those
hopefully we'll
meetings
be-
had some circumstances behind them, so.
No, I mean,
Right, right. It's not like they were just canceled willy-nilly. There were
it's not
issues.
snowing yet tonight, so
Yeah.
we're finished.
All right. The next one is
supposed to
the.
start.
It's supposed to, too.
Maybe some issues.
The next one is your FSA ledger. This is an informational item only. I'm not sure how much you know about a flexible spending accounts and what the district's responsibility is. But what you have before you is 3 months worth of ledger summaries. The flexible spending account, the FSA, the healthcare accounts, savings accounts, is a benefit that you provide for your employees that they can elect to have withheld from their checks pre-tax an amount of money to be put into a savings account for which they can use to spend for healthcare items not otherwise covered by their insurance. All right? The issue here, and the only reason I'm bringing it to your attention, is that that is a liability that is your responsibility from day one, okay? So on August 15th, the teacher starts, and they determine they want to put in the maximum amount into their health savings account, which is $1,500. Yes, 15 or 25? 1,500.
Usually.
They just changed it last year, so it's $1,500. They want that taken out of their check on a pay period basis. But on August 2nd, they have something, huh?
Break a tooth.
Break a tooth. Great example.
Thank you.
All right, they break a tooth, and they got to go to the dentist, and it's a covered expense, and it's $1,500. We have to pay that up front. Okay? You guys pay it. Now, we still take it out of their check, but it is an incurred debt before they even start the program, okay?
Now,
So,
do we have, let me ask that, do we, because you either use it or lose it too.
Mhm.
So do we have money that has been lost that is like nest egg type money?
we
For that
have,
account?
we have a cushion. I don't know, I asked that in passing and Shelley today as I was putting this together, and we were all just kind of running around today, and I don't know how much it is, but there is a cushion in there that we have in previous, as people have left, or they have, haven't used it up to the final deadlines, and they've left money in there, small amounts. I don't think anybody would leave, $1,500 laying in there, but, I don't know.
They might, you never know. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm serious, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? But
Yes.
if there is somewhat of a nest egg in there, then,
I don't know how big it is, and it's just one of those things that it's not a concern, okay? It's not like I'm bringing this to you as oh my gosh, there's something wrong here. This is I don't know if everybody has an understanding that we have this liability up front before, and if that teacher leaves, or that teaching assistant is fired, or, the bus driver, gets in an accident, and, we're still hooked, we're still on the hook. So, just to let you know, so you can see the total remaining elections, all right, and you can see that they've gone down, so, yes ma'am.
But, okay, so say that the tooth thing, and it's $1,000, and they only put $500 in, and say they get fired, can't you just take it out of their wages before you give them the last check?
No,
Oh, so they get to walk away with $1,000?
yes.
Cool.
Not cool for us.
No, but it'd be cool for them.
Cool for them.
Wow, I didn't know it worked that way, I thought they still had
Yeah.
the debt.
No, that's why I'm saying, it's a debt incurred up front for us. Is they've made the pledge, but we have to pay it. So on day, August 1st, they're hired, they pledge $1,500, August 2nd, they crack a tooth and have $1,500, August 3rd, they quit, we're out $1,500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, is that only for a set number of, like, if they're a first-year teacher?
Nope, has nothing to do with any kind of status as an employee.
Okay.
You just are employed.
is it in the contract?
Yeah.
Is this a thing that was negotiable,
Negotiable?
I thought it was just if you had benefits.
Hmm?
I thought it was just if you had benefits. I
Well,
mean,
they
it's
do-
one of our benefits. Because it's part
Yeah,
of
but
our
an
insurance
employer doesn't
package.
necessarily have to offer flexible spending.
No,
Is
it's
that
just part
correct?
of our insurance.
That is correct. It doesn't have to be offered, you're
So
right.
is it in the contract?
Let's put it this way. It may not be in the support staff, but I bet you it is in the teachers without looking.
Well, I would-
We
And-
are offered it, we are
and-
offered to do that, but it's not in our contract.
Okay, and
Unless it was taken out last time.
it was,
I said unless it was taken out the last
Oh,
contract,
okay.
it's always been in there.
okay. So it is a benefit, I guess, that is a part of the collective bargaining agreement, so.
And if they don't carry the school's insurance, is it still part, they can still opt on this?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
Like their
flexible
husband's
spending
insurance
accounts.
is covering them, so,
does not matter. This is separate from your health insurance
Yeah, it
plan.
has nothing to do with your.
Right, it's separate. So, but right now, you can see your total annual elections are $11,249.84. So that is your annual, well, this year, this is your annual indebted amount that you owe, okay? So that's what you're looking at, and you can see total payments year-to-date are well, it depends on where you're looking at. At the very bottom, under February, you can see it's $6,568.94 are your total payments. And so total remaining elections, outstandings, $4,680.90 that the employees owe or that you are on the hook for right now.
And it shows 12 employees that have taken this. Is that
Total
standard
participants.
pretty much year to year, or does that fluctuate?
I didn't ask, and I don't know, so I'm not
My guess
sure.
is, yeah.
That is so low.
I would think everybody would want to take
Yeah.
advantage of it.
I mean, it's pre-tax.
Right. And it is, I mean, it's healthcare.
A lot of people don't know about them, or.
It's
a lot of people
dependent
don't
care?
even, like, I don't know.
They're all healthy and they don't.
Or they don't want the hassle of having to go and do it, pay for it, get reimbursed. kind of
Latchkey, though, if you have a latchkey kid, that dependent care, parent dependent care, all of those things are included. So actually, dependent care is another level
They just sent it to us.
of, okay. Well, very good. It was just an information, let you know what's going on out there. No concerns, just bringing it up. All right. Next, bonds and interest. Woohoo! I had a whole hour worth of Mr. David Pistorius today, Senior Vice President for First Mid-State Investment Bankers. It's an hour I'll never be able to get back in my life, but you can see this is where we are at right now. All right? Creve Coeur School District number 76, our 2005 working cash fund and refunding bonds. All right? In the little box here. Principal and interest levy in 2012, 2013. All right, so, and our principal payments are due on December 1st of each year. And you can go back into the bill payments and you'll see that $200,000 check we had to send out to them to make that payment. We have one more large payment in 2014. So December of this year, we will make a payment of principal and interest of $210,000. All right. Then in 2015, our final payment to pay off these working cash bonds and refunding bonds is $45,000 payment on December 1st, 2015. Okay? But what I would like to point your attention to is in 2013, our levy is $217,125. That's what we can levy as tax for our principal and interest on our bonds. 2014, coming up, so that we can make our payment in 2015. Our levy will be $46,069. That is a tax levy. Okay, that's taxes. That is your revenue. Okay, that's your revenue. That is where we get, right now, that's where we get money to pay off the debt. Okay? If you look up here at the top, it says 2014 DSEB. Okay? That's a debt, I don't know what do you call it, debt ceiling. We'll just call it debt ceiling. That is the maximum amount that we can levy for any kind of bonds that we might have and want to sell. Okay? So $241,476 is our debt ceiling. Let's just put it that way. That's our debt ceiling. Okay? We can only levy what we have payments for. Okay? So if we don't have any outstanding bonds, we can't levy any taxes for bond and interest. A lot of school districts use their debt ceiling for various different things. Okay? And I discussed with Mr. Pistorius, we looked at working cash and what else did we look at? We looked at working cash and I don't remember what the other one was. It's in my notes back in the office. But we looked at two different areas to use to sell bonds for, life safety. Sorry, it's life safety and working cash. Those are the two areas that you do not have to have a referendum for to sell those bonds. All right, because of the way the school code is written, those are areas where you do not have to go out and have the taxpayers vote to give you that money, that authority to get that kind of money. So we can sell bonds for working cash and for health, life, safety issues up to a payment of an annual payment of $240,000, which comes out to, if you look at the bottom of the second page, the SAY, $1,660,000 is our maximum working cash fund and life safety fund bond ceiling. That's what we can sell bonds for. That's the maximum amount that you can sell bonds for to use in these two funds without going to referendum. You have to have a public hearing, you got to do a bunch of other hoopy-doopy things you got to do, but you don't have to go and put it on a ballot to have people vote on it. Okay, working cash fund. The working cash fund is your checkbook, basically, a savings account, basically. Is where you are able to take money out of the working cash fund and distribute it to the funds that have the greatest need. Okay? So that's where you take your money and working cash, and you have your working cash bonds. You sell those bonds, you get $1.6 million in working cash, and you distribute it amongst the funds that are best in or most in need, whether that be the education fund, the transportation fund, the operations and maintenance fund. Okay, you can use that money in all those areas. Health, life, safety, any issues that are still outstanding where we need things to improve the facilities, health, life, safety bonds, that would be a part of that $1.6 million, but those monies can only be used for that specific purpose in health, life, safety expenditures. Working cash is money that is not restricted, so you have the ability to move that money around. Health, life, safety you have to use for those specific purposes. But, since we've got things fall apart, it might be something to look at. I don't know. But, working cash can be something that is, the technology that we're talking about. It can be, we can use those funds, that bonding capacity to move things forward. And you can see the last page is the Bond Buyers 20 Index. So on March 3rd, well, you can see from January 6th to March 3rd, the movement in the interest rate on bonds has gone from 4.75 down to 4.38. So it is going down. Okay. The selling of bonds is it's not real complicated, but it has to be done correctly. Mr. Pistorius didn't like the fact that he brought up the point that they use Chapman and Cutler for their bonding attorneys, and and for, doing all the bond work and legal work. And I said, well, we might want to do that ourselves. And he's like, no, we use Chapman and Cutler. I'm like, well, Chapman and Cutler is the most expensive bond attorneys in Chicago. And since I got 17 years of being a school law attorney and worked with bonding issues, we might want to do it ourselves. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So we'll see. We'll see. Because you got to pay for whatever the services are, you got to pay for it. But anyway, my question was, and might be with you, is the last page there, how to sell buying debt. How do we do that? How do we sell to the community to buy debt? Get it? Selling, buying debt? I thought.
Why do you feel we need to?
I don't know. Do you?
Haven't before.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was your statement?
Said, why do you feel we need to sell it to the community? We're not gonna do a referendum.
Right.
We're going to sell.
And you don't think any of the people would throw a fit if the school all of a sudden starts?
Their taxes are not gonna go up.
That's why you keep extending it
That's
out, so
why you
your
keep
taxes
doing it.
remain level.
And you don't have to
Because
go
if you
for a
ever let those
referendum.
tax
Right.
rates drop, then when you do increase it, then you'll hear it.
Right, if we wait till next year, that's what's gonna happen, correct? Okay.
Well, we go
You
back.
need to put
Yeah.
you on
No,
the
no. You're not.
Okay.
You look at, go back to the box on the first page. All right. The P&I levy in 2012 was $216,663. Okay. That was the levy to pay for the 2013 principal on December 1st. Okay. So in 2013, we levied $217,125 levy taxed to pay for our $210,000 principal and interest this December. Now look what happens. We can only levy for what the actual number is. There's within range. Blah blah blah. So we can't keep going at $217,000 because we only owe $45,000. So what happens there is that you're going from 36 bond and interest rate, 36 cents, 36. Yeah, I don't know about that. But you're going from a levy rate of, let's just say, 50 cents for $200,000. You're going from 50 cents. Now you're going down, and you only need $46,000. You only need 1/4 of that. So now instead of 50 cents, you can only levy now 15 cents. All right, per 100 or 1,000, whatever it is. So somebody's seeing that 45-cent difference on their $200,000 house. That's going to mean something on their taxes. So if you keep it at the 215, 220, you can go all the way up to 240,000 as your ceiling limit. But if you keep it up there and keep it level, people are paying the same amount of tax, but we're getting an influx of capital and revenue.
So when would we need to do that then, to be able to keep it level?
By December of this year, we would have to start doing, well, whichever way we want to do it, because you can structure it any way between the two bonds, the two funds, whether it's working cash and life safety, you can do 50-50, we can do 25. I don't know. We need to look at what are we going to use the money for? I don't like raising money if I don't have a reason and there's not a long-term plan. Even when I did, Boy Scouts, it's like, why are we raising the money? Just to have, $5,000 in the bank? That doesn't do anything for me. You know, same thing when I was a president of the Rotary Club. Why do we have $20,000 in the bank? And why do we go out and do these fundraisers? What's our plan? Okay, so that's the thing. If we want to keep this, and I recommend that you do keep it up, what do we want to do? Because that would be my question as the public.
Exactly.
What do you want to do?
With everything that's been breaking and needs
Well,
updates.
I was gonna say, I'm sure
I
that
don't
money
think
would
there's
be
a question.
spent pretty
That's
easily.
enough explanation right there.
Right. And the technology. That's all
The
it's-
building's falling apart, or, you know,
And then working, and this could be set up, and you say it's
Air
gonna be set up
conditioning.
as working cash.
we were dreaming Saturday. I still-
Because of the
I'm
state
Not
revenue
in
going
disagreement,
down.
I'm just like,
How
there's things that need
working
to be
cash
done.
would be
Yeah,
important.
I mean, there's,
Got my vote.
I'm sure there's plenty of things that.
Okay, so the rate's going down.
Our
Did they
interest
give
rate.
us-
Hmm?
Did they give us an idea of where they're, I mean, a projection?
That's what it was, no. No, he didn't go any farther.
All right.
No.
So,
Just
Mr.
wondering.
He was throwing this out there as a first meet kind of thing. So, and I know that over at Eureka,
Yeah.
you guys introduced me to another person who does the same thing.
Yes.
And I
He used
didn't-
to work for the same company, but he moved
Okay?
to a different company.
I don't have any professional relationship with any of these people because as the attorney, I just did the legal work and didn't care what bank they were. I just did the legal work. So I don't know, and I don't care.
So can we not raise our debt ceiling of that 240,000? It has to stay that way? Or is
Yes.
there a way to
No,
raise
there's
it?
a formula that goes into that, okay? And it is, if you turn the page, it has to do with your equalized assessed evaluation, it has to do with your ed fund rate, it has to do with, it's a big complicated formula. So if you would like a tutorial on that, now's not the time.
No, I don't. Think further, I was just curious, okay?
No, and that's fine. And it's a good question. Can we get it up? Can we raise it up? You know, can we get more money? You can if you go to referendum, and if you ask the taxpayers. Right? And you're asking them to raise their taxes voluntarily. It happens. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious,
Yep.
that's why I had to do it.
No, it's good. It's good questions. All right, bond and interest is there. Casualty insurance policy review. This is just an FYI, the things that we're looking, we just have to update our, this is our casualty insurance, blah, 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 blah. I think they made some mistakes. And Shelley and I are meeting tomorrow because I think some things were kind of maybe sleight of handed and got over on you guys last year as far as your insurance is concerned. So Shelley and I are going to meet and make sure that everything was on par because I didn't have a good feeling about when I reviewed it. So I'm going to meet with Shelley. Not that anything was done fraudulently or anything like that, but, it's just always good to have a second pair of eyes. And you can see here that our replacement costs on the statement of values page, that's the next page after the summary of insurance. You have the statement of values. You can see that we're insured for replacement costs. Our co-insurance, we have 100% coverage, and our blanket real and personal properties, all locations, and our values are $21,224,247,000, 100% insured. Okay? That's what we have. So, once I have gone over the review and we have the new contracts back and everything, we'll bring him back in here. I'll have Mr. Booth come. He'll talk to you guys about it and, decide if you want his insurance or not. So, principals selection update. Personnel in 35 minutes. All right. I don't remember if I sent to you, to everyone, the principal's job search description. This is what was put on the job site. It's called the Illinois Job Bank, Illinois Educational Job Bank. So you can see what was done here, and just made some changes to what was done, and basically I'd call your attention to the duties in the last 3 lines there. Under duties, it says the ability and desire to encourage a parent and community inclusive school environment, desire to lead and encourage a school team committed to student achievement, school improvement, and professional development. And then the qualification, the second line is the building principal must be a leader who possesses strong interpersonal and communication skills. That's what I'm looking for. I have received 8. No, I just got more in the mail today. So I think I have 17 applications or resumes. Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. I'm very happy at the number. I know a few of them already. Like I said before, some of them have been referred by other administrators and superintendents and people that I know, and so they had good people who are moving forward. They've been encouraged to apply here, so that's kind of nice, and kind of means to me that my colleagues believe that I know what I'm doing, and they're going to send their good people to us. So,
And 3 more days.
in-
3 more days before the application closes.
oh yeah. March 9th is the cutoff date. So,
March 7th.
oh, 7th, sorry.
11-month employee now.
Yeah.
Gonna cost us more.
Nope. Well, maybe, but not really.
Oh,
I thought it already
he's,
was.
You know, he's done
Mhm.
well so far on.
No, they're 10 and a half.
Oh,
10 and a half. So,
Just 2 more weeks, I guess.
yeah, just 2 more weeks, but it'll mean something. So,
He tends to save us money, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like
what I was
$7 a month.
we've had this discussion before about the 11 months.
I thought it was a 10 minute.
It is
No.
10 and 10 and a half right now. Yes.
Yeah. I think
We'll
So
have some.
there's meeting to the madness, okay.
Yeah, I think so. So hiring process, I know I did send this to you. We posted the position, reviewing the resumes. March, we're going to select some candidates for informal interviews, administrative interviews, check the references, school visits, select semifinalists, select committee members of teachers, staff, and board members. So if you are interested in being on the reviewing committee, please let me know. April will have our committee interviews, we'll have select finalists, school tours, and final reference checks, and then recommend some finalists to the Board of Education for approval, probable special meeting so that we can do that, as a single topic. So, sound all right?
If you were to select someone sooner than May, come to a decision, would you up that?
Yeah, if we got somebody who's real good and I don't want to lose them,
Exactly.
yeah, we
Usually
would.
by May, it's already decided.
Yeah, right. A lot of people, they want to get them done as soon as possible, and, you want to catch those good ones, and yeah, if we know where we're going, yeah. I just don't want to be in a position where we have to reapply or repost. That always looks pretty tacky. So, okay. And just to let you know, we've had 2 internal candidates submit their applications this week. So, all right, workers' compensation update. We have 1 outstanding claim that is in the negotiations session, and we've already kind of discussed that one in closed session, and we now have a new one. okay?
Which you
And-
emailed us on.
and I did email you on, and right now, we are at the point where we have submitted all of our required documents to Indiana Insurance, our insurance carrier, and they will be contacting us this week to get background and everything. So it is something that they understand that we're pretty serious about, and Mr. Booth, Afton Booth, forcefully wanted to meet with me last week to make sure that we were on the same page. And so I think he understands where I'm coming from. And he wanted to make sure that I understood that he is with me on that. So, staffing projections. This letter is something that you send out every year to the teaching staff to see if there are any requests for transfers to other teaching positions. This is a consideration. It is not a demand. It's not a requirement. I don't have to move anybody anywhere that I don't want to, or I can move everybody everywhere if I want to. So I don't see that there are any, well, let me back that up. The principals are indicating to me that they don't believe any internal transfers are being considered by staff. Everybody's pretty happy where they are, and so we don't foresee any kind of transferring going on. But as you can see, I've given you a copy of the possible return from leave of absence. It was a consensus that a letter should be sent to this employee, and so I did so. And we'll see what returns, if anything. But March 23rd is the deadline. So if I don't have some kind of indication from this person that they want a job, a position, then March 23rd is the deadline, and April 1st is the deadline for making tentative assignments to all certified staff, so that fits right in the timeline and everything. And if this person decides to come back, then we'll just have to figure it out and figure out where and what, and certification-wise, where things will fall. So I just can't answer any questions beyond that until I know whether it's coming and going. You will see the next 2 pages. We received these two formal requests for retirement incentive and retirement. So honor those, but those are still 2 years away. You know, not much projecting going on there, but you know, they're in the pipeline now, so we know what's going to happen, and we just have to be mindful of that.
Does the second one not qualify for that 6% retirement, because it wasn't mentioned in Toyota?
Right. I don't think she needs it, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So I think that retirement incentive, that one provision, I don't think she needs that to make it happen.
Oh, okay.
So
And why would she give a 2 years notice?
still to get the incentive, but not that provision
Okay.
of the age provision and all of that stuff. They still get the,
Okay.
yeah.
She's within age, so she will receive it automatically because she qualifies.
The early retirement option, yes.
Okay.
Right. But she doesn't need that extra provision that is in there. So, support staff, labor contract. Wow, we have the star of the show, Ms. Smallberger, and she informed me that, what? What are we doing? Patty?
We're meeting with Kim tomorrow night. And then probably not too long after that, you will get some kind of, something from us.
A notification of intent to bargain.
Because we've
Okay.
already met individual, and then we meet with Kim tomorrow night, and then,
Good. So that means that Board of Education and the negotiating members, we will need to start figuring and scheduling so that we can get some meetings going. I would direct you to the website because the contracts are all on the website. If you need a hard copy, just let me know and we can make that happen as well. This is an open contract negotiation, so this is language and compensation, unlike the teachers' next round, which would be compensation and benefits only. Okay, so this is language. Oh, just came in today, and it is personnel. Mr. Busco has resigned, being the groundskeeper. Mickey? Yeah, Mickey has resigned, all formal duties.
We all know him by Mickey now.
Yeah.
Who's that? Mickey. He told Shelley and Stephanie it's just getting too hard. His breathing is getting worse. I didn't know, he's supposed to be on oxygen and taking oxygen and carrying it around with him. I've never seen him with it. So it's just getting harder and harder. That's what he told the girls. His health is becoming a bigger issue, and he's just not comfortable, remaining as the groundskeeping person. So that just came in this morning. And Madam President, that's the whole agenda. 3 months worth.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. Nice job for us, thank you. Public participation? All righty.
Nothing?
Having none, can we have a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Pam Griner,
Aye.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
Aye.
Julie Troop,
Aye.
Rebecca Kern, Judy Strong.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Meeting adjourned.